tell him there's no one here. It's practically like empty, so he doesn't got to worry about it. Murdunga works on Thursday in the boutique.
Yeah, he's really bummed out.
Yuma's cool. Yuma's cool, man. Yuma's a really cool devotee. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavadava Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Janavadava Giridharadhari Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Rajana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Rajana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavadava Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Janavadava Giridharadhari Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Rajana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Rajana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavadava Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Janavadava Giridharadhari Yashoda Nandana Brajadana Randana Yashoda Nandana Brajadana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Good time. Hello. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Shri Radha Astasaki Vindishna Mahaprabhu Giriraj Govardhan Maharaj Shri Shri Bhagavan Shri Panchadaki Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, although we're meeting, I texted so many people today, and they're like, "Yeah, I can't wait to come to Krishna Cove." But so I have like 16 numbers in my phone from people I meet.
What's the deal with this?
I don't know. It's a karmic thing, Prabhu. I mean, they're like, "Hey, Kirtan, it sounds super fun. Unfortunately, I'm sick right now, so I've been resting and recovering. I'd go another time." So many texts like that. "Hey, Kirtan, I'm working tonight."
Well, we're here.
It's all right because I prepared 2 classes. One class in case there was a possible newcomer, and one class if it's just devotees.
Much have to at this point.
But we're all still newcomers.
True, you're not this body. So Now I want to talk about blame, karma, the cause of all causes, and how do we cope with this reality? Because I'm seeing a common theme in a lot of people's lives, collectively, individually, as a smaller collective, amongst devotees, in relationships, and in people's very own individual lives. I'm seeing a theme of there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. Bombs are flying, people are dying, a lot of stuff's happening. And bombs are flying in communities, bombs of verbs, bombs of words, bombs of actions, and people are, maybe people aren't physically dying, but people are dying inside, even in devotee communities. And in ISKCON, you're seeing some people, sometimes you see online, you see just people throwing bombs at each other, hurting each other. In our own lives, I mean, in my life, I'm feeling the war within. So what is the cause of this? And how do we deal with it? And so there's a chapter in the Bhagavatam, second canto, where it says, Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer to all problems, answer to all questions. Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer. Why are things happening the way they're happening? Because we're in Kali Yuga. Prayanal Payusha Sabya Kalavasmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhaga Hipadritaha. O king, in this age of quarrel, men are all short-lived, quarrelsome, lazy, unlucky, misguided, and above all,
Always disturbed.
always disturbed. And I just, this verse is like ringing like a bell in my mind. Even I'm seeing devotees experiencing unlucky, lazy, misguided, always disturbed. Devotees should never be disturbed. And so when we see this thing, it's shocking, and you're realizing Kali Yuga is real, and we're really in it. It's not just a myth in the books. It's not just a thing we talk about in class. We are in the Kali Yuga. And unless we're careful, it'll take us out. Vice versa to that. Krishna swadamo pagate dharma jnana dibisa kalunastadrisa mesa puranoko dunoditaha. That this Bhagavat Purana is brilliant like the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with religion and knowledge. This Purana is in itself sufficient to bring light to those who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali. So this Purana will bring us light if we've lost our vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali. And maybe I'm an optimist, and maybe I am, I don't know, but for me, when I see a lot of suffering in devotees' lives and in the lives of an individual, and I can help them and they're willing to listen, the answer is read Srimad Bhagavatam together, read Srimad Bhagavatam individually, come do kirtan together. All those things that Lord Chaitanya says counter the age of quarrel. You want to stop the quarreling? Talk about Krishna, speak about Krishna, hear about Krishna, live Krishna's instructions. But the tendency is to, no, Prabhu, we're going to get practical now. Let's fix this with a material solution. I mean, I hear it all the time. Hey, what if we just get together and hear Bhagavatam? Shut your mouth, you sentimentalist. Yes, Prabhu.
Real quick comment. Papa said if there's not an evening program, it'll be 12.
Yeah. Well, a good thing is we have an evening program practically every night.
These are on individual evening programs.
Yeah.
But just to reaffirm.
You said that before to us last time, 2 years ago, you said that. I think about that a lot. And what to speak if you don't live in a temple, you don't have a morning program, don't have an evening program. I mean, this is the solution, folks. Krishna consciousness is the solution. Bhagavatam is the solution. It's going to bring us light in this dense darkness of the age of Kali. We're dealing with Kali Yuga. And I had a realization the other night. I was in Kali Yuga, and I realized, I'm in Kali Yuga. And there's no solution but Srimad Bhagavatam. And if people don't realize that, we'll never, it's going to just go on and on and on. It's only going to go on and on and on. So our prime duty is to live, breathe, and distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's so powerful. And so when you analyze Srimad Bhagavatam, what's going on here? Just the first canto, which there's 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, Atra Sagar Visagar Sta, Stanam Poshanam Uttaya, Manvantara Isha Anukata, Niro Muktirashraya. 10 topics. And the Bhagavatam itself begins in the second canto. That's when Shukadev starts speaking. So the first canto, what about that? It is a history of Bhagavatam. It's stating what the Bhagavatam is, who's qualified to hear it, and what is its history. And that's, we've been going over that, we've been really drilling that in our Wednesday evening Sangha. But we're going to do a crash course here as to what the Bhagavatam is and who's qualified to hear it, and what's the history of it. Because the history of it is very much related to how it can help us. It's all related to how it can help us. It's showing us that it's the solution. Because the greatest minds of the end of the Dwapara Yuga, and that means they're greater than all of the minds in the Kali Yuga, that includes us, they all got together and they said, hey, people are going to fight in the age of Kali. Even the devotees are going to fight in the age of Kali. What's the solution? What did they do? They said, Sutta Goswami, speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. That was the conclusion. Sutta Goswami said, speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is how the Bhagavatam starts out, that in Naimisaranya, all these great minds came to have a seminar to figure out what we're going to do about Kali Yuga. And that's what we're all trying to do individually, collectively, as a country, as a world. We're all trying to come together. These are the UN, GBC, whatever it is, whatever meetings people are going to, getting together and trying to figure out what are we going to do about Kali Yuga, because all of the problems we're experiencing, that means the quarrel, the hypocrisy, the unluckiness, the misguidedness, and the always being disturbed, that is because of Kali Yuga and the material energy. But it's more in Kali Yuga. How do we solve it? We get together and we hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So they got together and they heard Srimad Bhagavatam. And the conclusion they got to, Savai Pum Sampara Dharmo, Yato Bhakti Radhoksaje, Ahaitukya Pratiyata, Eyatma Suprasidati. The supreme occupation for humanity at large is that by which they can attain to loving service under the personality of Godhead, Ahoksaje, who's beyond the senses. Such service should be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Simple stuff here. We all hear these verses every day, but think about it all. And so Kali Yuga started when Krishna was on the planet, but it couldn't do anything because Krishna was on the planet. Kali Yuga was there. Started when Krishna was on the planet, but it couldn't do anything because Krishna's there. And so then Krishna leaves, and what happens is the great sage Vyas, he's sitting there in his ashram having recorded all the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras, and the Mahabharata, and he's sitting there depressed. I'm depressed. And he can't figure out why I'm depressed. And so Narada Muni appears, because that's what happens. The guru appears whenever we really need the guru. It could be Shiksha, could be Diksha, could be different at different times. The guru appears. And he says, you're depressed because you're not talking about Krishna. He goes as far as calling the Vedas Tadvayasam Tirdam. What's that mean? Pilgrimage for crows. He says, this is Tadvayasam Tirdam, Shanti Manasa. This stuff you're writing that doesn't have anything to do with Krishna, it's a place of pilgrimage for crows. So he writes all the Vedas, and then his guru says, shh, don't even go. You need to describe Krishna. It's one of the only verses repeated twice in the Bhagavatam. Tadvaj Vishago Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Abhadavyat Yapi Namanyantas Yasya Sankintani Yat Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinati Saravaha. He says that, on the other hand, those literatures, which are full of the name, fame, form, pastimes, and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are of another creation altogether, full of transcendental words meant to bring about a revolution in the lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Is our civilization misdirected? My life's misdirected, my civilization's misdirected, everything, our religion is misdirected, whatever it is. These words are meant to bring about a revolution in the lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such literatures, although imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So a purified man who is thoroughly honest, he accepts Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes people find all these different things in Bhagavatam, like, oh, I don't know, the fifth canto scares me, and all these different thoughts. Heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Means it's not about knowing everything around you, how it's all happening, because it's all Krishna's Maya Dakshina, inconceivable energy. It's understanding that this Bhagavatam will bring you truth. It'll make you thoroughly honest, which is what we need in the world, because none of these politicians are honest. In fact, we're finding out more and more that they're not just dishonest, they're monsters who are like doing things to children. It's really sick. So purified men who are thoroughly honest hear Srimad Bhagavatam. They accept Srimad Bhagavatam. And they feel happy. So Vyas, he realized, yeah, you're right, Narada Muni. You're right. And he went into a trance and he spoke Bhagavatam. And then at this meeting, at this seminar, where they decided to hear Bhagavatam, and they're asking Sutta Goswami, come on, speak the Bhagavatam. First thing he says is, how did this all happen? How did this Bhagavatam come about? And he tells the story of Vyasa and Narada. And Narada, of course, goes into his history. We all heard the story. Narada going into his history. They're telling how the Bhagavatam came about. And the question is asked, how did the great king, Maharaj Parikshit, leave his kingdom and his beautiful young wife and go sit on the bank of the Ganges for 7 days till death? And how did the great sage Shukadeva Goswami find him? And so it takes you all the way back to Battle Kurukshetra. Big Battle Kurukshetra. Arjuna annihilated everybody. Krishna annihilated everybody through Arjuna. Only a few people are alive. One of them is Ashwatthama. One of them is Karna. No, not Karna. Kripacharya. Ashwatthama. They were sitting there under a tree after the battle. And Ashwatthama came up with this plan. I'm going to go get back, these Pandavas. And so he went to try to kill the Pandavas in their sleep. And he, stabbed them in their sleep, only to find out that it was not the Pandavas, it was the children of the Pandavas. And so he went to present their heads, cut their heads off. He went to present their heads to his master, who was dying but not dead yet, Duryodhana. What did Duryodhana do? He was just disgusted. Disgust me. And so naturally, Arjuna was pretty mad. And Arjuna went and chased him down like an animal. Let's describe that. Both Krishna and Arjuna looked very angry. Arjuna's eyes were fiery like copper. But Krishna, although he was angry, his eyes were like lotuses. Still, he had lotus eyes. He was so angry, but he had lotus eyes. Krishna's anger is not like our material anger. So, in his desperate attempt to save himself, Ashwatthama threw the Brahmastra. And Arjuna, when a nuclear bomb's coming at you, the tendency is to, I guess get under the desk. But that's not going to help you much, I don't think. But anyhow, he didn't get under the desk. He didn't even turn away. He said, Krishna Mahabaho. He said, Krishna, help me. And he calmly walked around Krishna 3 times. Krishna told him, counter with your own Brahmastra. And this is the way a devotee takes show. The nuclear bomb is coming in our lives. Here's the nuclear bomb, whatever it is, it's coming. And the materialist freaks out, does so many weird things, I don't know what they do. You don't really have time to do much. You just freak out and then you're pretty much gone. But Arjuna, Krishna, help me. Krishna says, counter with your own Brahmastra. So Arjuna shoots his own Brahmastra, sucks that Brahmastra up, and they capture Ashwatthama, tie him up like an animal. They had this big debate what to do with him. Arjuna wanted to kill him. Bhima wanted to kill him. Yudhishthira wanted to save him. And Kunti wanted to save him. And Krishna was switching sides to test Arjuna. So Arjuna, being a genius, understood Krishna. He wanted to satisfy all the Vaishnavas, which is a lesson. If 2 Vaishnavas are not getting along, we shouldn't take sides. It says that in Chaitanya Bhagavat like 4 or 5 times. Like, do not take sides. Vaishnavas aren't getting along. Don't get in that situation. Rather, serve all of them. So Arjuna, being tested by Krishna, decided he was going to just chop off the jewel in the hair of Ashwatthama. Now Ashwatthama is still alive. He had some boon that allowed him to live for a really long time. He could be out there on First Avenue. Seriously. He looks really crazy and stuff. You never know if you never really know if you're going to bump into Ashwatthama out there. Yeah, we never know who you're talking to. So, why are we talking about this? Because after the battle was over, only one Pandava child survived. The child of Abhimanyu, and Uttara. Uttara is the mother of Maharaj Parikshit. So Abhimanyu died valiantly in the battle, in the big phalanx moves, the Chakra Vyuha. In the Chakra Vyuha, he knew how to penetrate it, but he didn't know how to get out of it. And so Abhimanyu was killed. And so Uttara was pregnant. But in a last-ditch effort, the disturbed Ashwatthama decided to try to finish his business of killing off the Pandava dynasty and shot another Brahmastra at Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. And yes?
Sorry, I think I asked you this last time when you were talking about this, but is that the same Abhimanyu that's...
No. No, that'd be weird.
I know, that's why I always was wondering about it. Every time I hear the story, I'm always like, and then I remember when I asked Jiro, he didn't know.
Yeah, no.
So, okay.
Two Abhimanyus. There's two Arjunas too. There's a cowherd boy named Arjuna also. So, yeah. There's also another cowherd boy named Stoka Krishna. So this Brahmastra was flying at Uttara, and Uttara, being a pure devotee, she ran to Krishna and she said these beautiful prayers of surrender to Krishna. So Krishna manifests a little thumb-sized form in the womb, and you just imagine he's like swinging his club, and all the nuclear energy is just like avoiding the womb of Uttara. So Parikshit, he saw Krishna in the womb. He became samskar, saw Krishna. In his whole life, he searched for Krishna. So he came out. He was this very pure devotee. When we hear of these events that happened afterward, Krishna was leaving Kunti, prayers of Queen Kunti, Bhishma Dev's passing away, Krishna leaving Hastinapur, Krishna entering Dwarka. We hear some of these pastimes. Then we hear back, we're going to circle back to the son of Vyas, Shukadev Goswami, who of course was not wanting to even come out of the womb, but he eventually was able to come out, and he became very amazed by hearing the pastimes of Krishna. There's actually different versions of that story. But actually, the verse that really triggered it was another verse that triggered Pundrik Vidyaniti when he fell off the asan. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jigam shayapaya yarapyasadvi lebe gatam datitam tatanyam kamva dayalum sharanam vajema. In this verse is stating how merciful Krishna is. Who can we take shelter of more merciful than he who gave liberation in the form of a mother to the she-demon Putana, who came with deadly poison smeared upon her breast to kill the Lord. Who can we take shelter of more merciful than that Krishna? So this great mercy, then Shukadev Goswami, he became a pure devotee, wandering around. And in the meantime, before all this happened, we're going to hear about Parikshit. He grew up, he became a great king. We hear about how the Pandavas retire timely. Hear about how Dhritarashtra leaves by the instructions of Vidura and becomes liberated and doesn't go back to Godhead. We hear about all the Pandavas retiring. We hear about how Krishna leaves the world, how disturbed the Pandavas are knowing that Krishna left. We hear about how Arjuna went to try to save Krishna's wives, but then Arjuna was defeated by a bunch of cowherd men who were actually Krishna. So we hear all these beautiful things in leading up to this revelation that now Parikshit's king, and he's starting to notice, wow, things aren't going right in my kingdom. There's some quarrel, there's some hypocrisy. Parikshit Maharaj rides out on his chariot with what colored horses? Black horses. Arjuna had white horses and Parikshit had black horses. He rides out on his horse with black horses, his chariot with black horses. And he goes to figure out what's going wrong in the world. To defeat Kali Yuga, he conquers all the kingdoms, tries to set things in order. And upon his journey, he comes across a cow and a bull. This cow and bull are Dharma and earth personified. And it's amazing when we really think about how Prabhupada used this part of the Srimad Bhagavatam to give us our Hare Krishna movement, to give us the fundamental principles of the Hare Krishna movement. Prabhupada used basic Bhagavatam, first canto, to give us this whole thing we're standing on. So we've all probably read, he comes across the earth, she's very sad, she's very disturbed, and Dharma, the bull, he is not doing well. He's had his legs beaten or chopped off, depending on tellings of it and what it actually says. But his legs are severely damaged, except he has one leg left, and then that black-skinned king-looking man is beating the last leg. Each leg represents one of the principles of religion, which are cleanliness, truthfulness, austerity, and mercifulness. The only leg left standing is truthfulness. And what is that truthfulness in the age of Kali? Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam. There is no truth but Bhagavatam. So this is our leg of truth here. This is our Dharma. Yes, Prabhu.
You know what the significance of the bull is? Like why a bull?
Well, bull represents Dharma because the cow is giving milk to the Brahmanas. And so the cow is in that sense supporting religion. So Krishna loves the cows very much, but the bull is also plowing the field. So that plowing nature that he takes care of, he manages the field. He's like male of the female cow. He's in that sense, he's Dharma. He's a representative of Dharma. Yeah. And so when the earth is like a cow, we milk her for her. Like we hear in the fourth canto, you might have read about Prithu. He's milking the earth for all of the various items. And so the bull is the Dharma, which we get by that milking. Right? When we're doing Dharma, we get all these good things that happen to us. When we're doing Adharma, we live in Kali Yuga. So in that way, the bull represents Dharma. And so this bull has a conversation with Maharaj Pariksha. And this is the significant point I want to riff on here today. This verse is like, yesterday I had a moment. I was just sitting in my room thinking I want to read something. And since I'm reading the 10th canto, I try to, I have to get my Prabhupada in because the 10th canto is not Prabhupada's purports. They're great. But for my sanity, I need to have Prabhupada every day, something from Srila Prabhupada, or else it doesn't matter who it is, I'll just start twacking out. So I have to either read some Bhagavad Gita or some other canto of Bhagavatam that has Prabhupada's purports, or listen to a Prabhupada class, or listen to some audiobook of Prabhupada's purports. I thought, gosh, just have this thing, read chapter 17, which we were trying to read in the car that night too. Krishna was telling me to read that. So they have this conversation as to what is the, what's the cause of this? Maharaj Parikshit sees the Dharma, the bull, and he's severely damaged. So what is going on? So I'll read a little. He, Maharaj Parikshit, repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus: O son of Sarabi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the kings who are obedient to the laws and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. Prabhupada makes a point in the purport that when the kings are following Krishna consciousness, people shouldn't be unhappy. So all the world is unhappy because we're not following Krishna consciousness. That means individually we're all leaders too, especially if we're devotees. We have to be leaders. Every devotee is a leader. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore, I wish all good to you. Please tell me the perpetrator of these mutilations, which blackmail the reputation of the sons of Pritha. So, saying this shouldn't even happen, and this is a bad mark on the line of kings who are in the Pandava line, the sons of Pritha, meaning Kunti. Whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. This is a very heavy part of the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada's purports are quite amazing here. Some of the most amazing purports, in my opinion. Prabhupada is really stating how it is the duty of an administrative person to punish those who are miscreants. Just like Krishna punishes, administration should punish. So we must be very serious in that role of administrative to protect those who are innocent. An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decoration. So Maharaj Parikshit is saying, even a demigod, I will punish if he is acting in such a way. And when you actually, so I don't know, just a side here, that if you meet really amazing devotees who have a kind of a Kshatriya spirit, they'll sometimes talk like that, like this just reminds me of Padmanayan, you know. Sometimes I see Padmanayan like, I don't care about the denizen of heaven, I will. You know, it's like that. That very, they're serious. They mean it too. It is the supreme duty of the ruling king to give all protection to law-abiding persons, to chastise those who stray from the ordinances of the scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. The personality of religion said, these words just spoken by you befit a person. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Going back for a second. So Maharaj Parikshit has spoken. Now Dharma is speaking back. This is very powerful stuff. Personality of religion said, these words just spoken by you befit a person of the Pandava dynasty, captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas. Even Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, performed duties as a messenger. O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings, because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. So he's saying that it is very difficult to understand who's caused our sufferings because of all these nonsense philosophies. Some philosophers who deny all sorts of duality declare that one's own self is responsible for his personal happiness and distress. I think we can agree with that sometimes. Others say that the superhuman powers are responsible. I can agree with that, I think, to some degree. Well, yet others say that activity is responsible. And the gross materialists maintain that nature is the ultimate cause. There are some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor can one by the imagination, nor can it be expressed by words. So in this world, we're trying to solve all these issues, and we're hearing all this. Philosophers denying duality declare that we're responsible, declare that nature is responsible, declare that superhuman powers are responsible, that you're responsible and you're responsible for this issue. Who's really responsible? O sage amongst kings, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. And so Maharaj Parikshit gave a beautiful reply. This is a very powerful reply. This verse is one of those verses that really kind of thunders in the heart of the devotees when you hear it, one of those shocking verses. The king said, "O you who are in the form," I'm going to read the Sanskrit. Raja vacha dharmam bravashi dharmagya dharmosi visharupadrik yad adharma kritastanam suchakshyashyapi tad bhavit. O king, the king said, "O you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking on the principles that if one knows the location of irreligious acts, one will know the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion." Continuing on, the famous verse. Uh-oh, did I lose it? Oh, no. Oh yeah, here it is. I lost the verse. This happened to me earlier today. I keep losing this verse. I'll just keep reading. Nothing wrong with that. Thus it is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by material speculation or word jugglery. So the point that's going to be made by Prabhupada here is that the Lord is responsible for everything. So when we find ourselves in a circumstance in which things are seemingly kind of crazy or not working out or weird and we can't figure out the cause, we should understand that the ultimate cause of everything is the Lord. Let's see, where's the word? I have it here. Oh, it's 22. Okay. Here's the special verse. What the heck? This 22 and that 22 are not the same. Strange. Okay. Raju Vacha, here it is. The king said, "Oh, you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion." That's the slok we're looking for.
Can you say it again?
Wait, say it again.
"Oh, you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator."
So that's bad for all the prosecuting attorneys.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like.
You are no other than the personality of religion. So we'll pause before we go into Prabhupada's purport, but that is one crazy statement right there, huh? And so we're trying to figure out what's wrong, and we're pointing fingers here, we're pointing fingers there, we're pointing fingers there. We're just racking up bad karma like anything.
Isn't Yamaraj racking up a lot of bad karma then?
He's speaking. This is Yamaraj. This is Yamaraj who he's speaking to. Yamaraj is a bull. Yeah. I mean, no, it's a heavy statement. I mean, it's one of those kind of like shocking things. So how? Okay, a devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or a mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. So first and foremost, that we can say you're the cause, we can say you're the cause, we can say she's a demon and she's dishonest, or she's a this and she's a that, he's a this and he's a that. We can say all these things. But factually, a devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. This is Srila Prabhupada's statement. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. But in both cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent. And thus, it is his grace. So when we find ourselves in that Kali Yuga section, when we find ourselves, we're Kali Yuga in really hardcore, the quarrels coming in, the disturbed natures come in, all of that's coming in. We start to, point fingers at devotees. He's saying, this is all God sent. So what do we do when we're in the midst of misery in the material world? Who do we take shelter of? So the solution, once again, is hear and chant Srimad Bhagavatam and do kirtan. Do the process. In case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. I was talking to a person today, and he was saying, so-and-so did this for me, and I'm really happy. And I was thinking I was happy for them. We have a really nice kid treat.
You don't have them, don't worry about
You get them in the restaurant, no problem.
it.
No worries. So anyhow, this is the point here, is that in case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. But in case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful how the Lord can be so unkind to his devotee as to put him in great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such great difficulty, being crucified by the ignorant, but he was never angry at the mischief mongers. So we can take it, we can say, oh, that's Jesus Christ, that's Haridas Thakur, but really, we have to see that this is Krishna. We have to take it seriously what Krishna and Prabhupada and Bhagavatam is saying here. That is the way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner, like the mischief monger. By God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, the devotee has no suffering at all, because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and the bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali, although everyone lodges such complaints before state authorities. So we can go, oh, complain to the guru, complain to this, complain to that. The extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion.
What verse is this?
This is verse 117:22. We're going to go to 117:23. Thus it is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by material speculation or word juggling. And this is, Prabhupada brings up your questions. A question may be raised as to why a devotee should refrain from identifying an actor, although he knows definitely that the Lord is the ultimate doer of everything. Knowing the ultimate doer, one should not pose himself as ignorant of the actual performer. So what Prabhupada is saying is that we're not saying that, okay, it's all Krishna. We don't, act like this person did that. We can still identify. We don't have to emotionally invest ourselves in hating this person, seeing this and that. And actually, especially if that person's a devotee, that person's chanting Hare Krishna every day, getting up early, doing service for Krishna for so many years or whatever it may be. So if we, call them, this is serious, Prabhus. It's a serious Kali Yuga trap. And you can feel it in your heart when you're in it. When you're around that, you can feel it in your heart. So I always say, click the Raghunath Bhatta option. If you have the option, you know what the Raghunath Bhatta option is? You have all your options. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami never criticized anybody, even if they deserve criticism. He only thought they were serving Krishna. If you have the means, it's always better to just click the Raghunath Bhatta option. If you can't, okay, you can't. If you have the means, click. I choose the Raghunath Bhatta option.
Can you show how this would apply, like in the situation with Ashwatthama?
Oh yes, I'll get there. It's important. To answer this doubt, the reply is that the Lord is also not directly responsible for everything is done by his deputed Maya Shakti, or material energy. The material energy is always provoking doubts about the supreme authority of the Lord. Personality of religion knew perfectly well that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, and still he was put into doubts by the deluding energy. Okay, this is an important point here. He was put into doubts by the deluding energy and thus refrained from mentioning the supreme cause. So when we see that this is not Krishna, and there's a tendency, this can't be Krishna, we're going to fix this Maya without seeing Krishna's behind it. This doubtfulness was due to the contamination of both Kali and the material energy. The whole atmosphere of the age of Kali is magnified by the deluding energy, and the proportion of measurement is inexplicable. Okay, your question's great. I thought about this. I rung this around my Shiksha Guru today. We talked for about 3.5 hours. And he's a real scriptural person. Really amazing. Quite incredible. And what is irreligion? So irreligion also means when you don't do your duty. So it's some people's duty to correct the miscreants in the proper way. For instance, in a situation with Ashwatthama, what was Arjuna trying to figure out? How do I do this religiously here? Because there were points that were made on all sides about religion here. First off, Ashwatthama is a Brahmana. Kshatriya can't really kill a Brahmana. That's sinful. Second off, Ashwatthama is a killer of my children and an offender and an aggressor. Therefore, he should be killed immediately. Third off, my wife wants me to spare him. My older brother wants me to chop his head off. This is a serious situation. And the personality of Godhead is standing right there trying to, and so Arjuna, understanding the highest Dharma, chose, let me do what's going to please Krishna by pleasing all the devotees. Pleasing all the devotees. So
why isn't Arjuna liable for sinful reactions for identifying Ashwatthama as?
It's okay to identify, but we have to see the Lord's behind it. Prabhupada makes that clear. It's okay to identify the actor, but we have to understand the ultimate cause and then understand what's the religious thing to do. If we're just pointing blame on people and we're not seeing Krishna behind it and we're hating them and we're making aparads against them because of that, apichet, especially talking about devotee relations here, apichet suduracharo bhajate mama nanyabak sadareva samantavya samyak bhavishito saha. Krishna is saying, even if you're sudurachar, which I don't know very many devotees who are sudurachar, but apparently they exist. Even if you're sudurachar, then you're still, if you have bhajate mama nanyabak, you're still to be considered saintly. So who's behind all this? Krishna's behind this. And so if Krishna is behind this, then we have to understand that I'm acting on Krishna's behalf, and I have to choose what's going to be favorable for Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much. You see, that's the conclusion. So it isn't so easy. But when we understand we place this pleasing Krishna above everything else and seeing Krishna behind the Maya, then we're corrected. And so to continue on, just to finish up the talk here, the conversation goes on. Immediately, even though Parikshit Maharaj heard this from Dharma, what did he do? Shing, pulled his sword out and went to go take out Kali. Knowing that it's Krishna, Arjuna said, this is all Krishna, but still, I'm the king. It's my duty to knock this Kali out. Okay, that's good. Detached. What did Kali do? Kali surrendered. And because he surrendered, Parikshit Maharaj didn't kill him. What did he give him? He gave him a benediction. He gave him an option. He said, you can hang out in 4 places where there's intoxication, where there's meat eating, where there's gambling, and where there's illicit sex. Yes, that's the second boon. So you see how Prabhupada, knowing this, using this, gave us this 4 regulative principles, right? From the Bhagavad. Prabhupada was right. Maharaj Parikshit, living Bhagavad, giving us 4 regulative principles to push out Kali Yuga. And then he said, Parikshit Maharaj, Kali said, there's no place in the world because you're the king where these things exist. What do I do? So where you hoard gold, where gold is hoarded. And some people say that, there's certain commentators who say that because Maharaj Parikshit had a giant gold throne on in the forest, he garlanded Shamaka with that was how Kali snuck in. So, Kali Yuga is a real force. It's a real, it's a real thing around us. And we can counter it with Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalo, Nasteva, 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 Gatyani. We can counter it with Harinam, doing Kirtan together, and reading Srimad Bhagavatam together. Parikshit Maharaj is still here. All this is still here. We can counter Kali Yuga. And it is my observation that devotees who go to Bhagavatam class with each other don't fight. My observation.
I'm just so pushed out. What get all up with over anything? You're already feeling it, just spreading the love.
Yeah. Vanessa, you had a question?
Did we speak much about the day after Gaur Purnima, Jagannath Mishra in class? And so maybe can you elaborate on? Do we not talk about Jagannath Mishra?
We didn't talk about it much. Is it disappearance day or is it I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
It's celebrated after Gaur Purnima, right? This is probably what you're talking.
Well, Jagannath Mishra was a very pure devotee, and he's an incarnation of Nanda Maharaj.
Right.
And Nanda Maharaj. And I can say,
Nanda or
Nanda. And Sachi and Jagannath Mishra are Yashoda and Nanda.
Yashoda.
And so I can say that, Jagannath Mishra, I know he was actually very strict. He used to punish Lord Chaitanya sometimes, chase him with a stick. And he left his body because he had a dream where Lord Chaitanya was a sannyasi. He left his body.
That's why he left his body.
Yeah.
Like out of sadness or?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. He didn't want to send it to sannyasi. Yes, sir.
I feel obliged to correct what I said earlier. I messed it up. It's been a while since before that. Prabhupada said if people don't go to the morning program, there will be problems. But then he also said if devotees are fighting, they should always do the evening program. That's
At least Gaurachi.
Well, it's funny because we've noticed the ones who had said you go to the morning program all the time, we get a lot of fights.
Splendidly. Never had a
Yeah.
bad, well, we have it once in a while. Over the bathroom, we have occasional bathroom.
Yeah, well, we have our once a year fight over that.
You all hear about the story of Asvatthama? He mentioned how he could be on the street. Did you guys hear the story of Asvatthama that happened years ago?
Hare Krishna. Of course, Prabhupada. Go ahead, Prabhupada. We're just